This is a file with lots of headings. You've got a heading 1, heading 2, and as you scroll down the file, there's different headings as you go down with writing underneath them. This is the core outline plugin, which comes with Obsidian in the core application. I've just activated it and dragged it into this section. You can see I can drag it over there, drag it over here. I'm going to leave it in the middle for the moment. And when I click on any of these sections, it will take me to that part of the file. This also gives me the option to toggle shut and toggle open any of the headings that have headings underneath it. So if we go into here, you can see I can fold the failure bit, but keep the practice bit open, and it works in sections. However, I'm now in a different file, and as I open it, it always comes up with everything unfolded. So I can't fold it and then go back to it and it'll come back. You see everything just unfolds again, so it doesn't save whether a heading's been folded or not. So to me, it is not really that useful. On top of it not saving where you are inside of the file, as I scroll down, you can see it doesn't actually show me where I am in the headings either. So sometimes when I want to look at, say I'm in the trust heading, well, you can't see that. Say I'm in the trust heading here, and I want to see, okay, what's underneath that? I have to try and find the trust heading. I know it's there and there's nothing underneath it, but I have to try and find it in here. And when the heading is long, in longer documents, this is a fairly small document. It's only got 5,000 words in. Yeah, small document. But it just becomes a pain to try and find where I am. And there is also no core way to search through headings. So if I was looking for the comfort zone heading, but I'm right at the top of the file, I can't search for it. I have to come in and have a look for it. If I use a community plugin like Quick Switcher++, I then push the hash, I can then search for something, but that's not core to Obsidian. And that is where this plugin, the Quiet Outline Community plugin, can come in handy. You've seen it on the side as I've been scrolling through. And going into the settings, you can see we've got some color options. I don't bother messing with these. Set primary color, set rainbow line color. I just have them both set on. So what it does is it changes the color of the lines here. So when everything is unfolded, this is one of those things about the community plugins that is irritating. It sort of changes the heading level, but orange, yellow, and then if we go to another file and add a few more headings, you can see now we've got the orange, we've got the yellow, we've got the green, and then it would go all the way through the colors. But that feature is not the one that I actually use. Like, I don't care about the colors. What I do care about is the rendering of Markdown, so actually rendering of the heading. So you can see I added a link to the heading, so another, and then heading is a linked page. I just haven't created it. Inside the core outline, it has those brackets, whereas inside the quiet outline, it doesn't have those brackets. That's one of the features that I'd like to see come to core, because I don't like seeing all of the brackets and everything, and it's the same with if you were to bold or underline or add any sort of Markdown emphasis inside of the heading, you can see it inside the outline. With the ellipsis setting, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what it does. I've tried playing around with it. When you turn it on, it gives you these tooltips options, but I can't see anything in the outline plugin, so I'm not sure on that. I'll probably leave the, if I do find out, I'll leave it in the article that I'll link in the description. Then we have search support, and this is a big thing for me. As you've probably noticed, as it's like a blue color, you can search for the heading. So if I'm looking for heading, it will then search for heading, and there it is, and then I can click it and it will take me to that heading inside of the file. And this, having this inside of the core outline would be extremely nice. Even if it's just a basic heading, a basic search, I don't need anything too fantastical with rejects and booleans. No, just let me search these. Then moving on to the level switch, that is this dial that goes across, and you can change the levels. I'm going to get rid of that search and then refresh it just to be sure. It changes where your level's at, so heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and that number after it is how many headings are at that level. So you can see heading 3, 3, so there are 3 heading 3s. That one, and that one, so the yellows. And I can go backwards and forwards. I don't tend to move this around, really. What I like to do is have everything shown so I can see everything, and then I will collapse it to where I need if I'm searching for something in the outline. But most of the time, when I'm scrolling through here, I'm either going to search for the thing, or once I've jumped to that spot, so say I'm going to pseudoscience, it will then collapse anyway. I don't know whether that's a bug or whether that's deliberate from Quiet Outline, but I actually quite like it, because now I can scroll down, and as I scroll down, it will then expand the section that I'm in. And this feature right here, the ability to just focus on that heading and expand and collapse all these different sections, is so nice. It's so helpful when I'm looking at the outline rather than having to figure out where I am, as I mentioned earlier. Even though the default level is a nice feature, I don't really use it or utilize it. I just show everything and then find where I'm going, and then it collapses anyway, and that's the way I like it, and that's the way I'd prefer the core plugin to work. But we'll have to see. hide irrelevant searches is kind of obvious because I don't want to see the irrelevant searches inside of search because that's kind of pointless. And if I turn this off and now look for heading, it's highlighted it. But what I found is if I'm looking for a heading, if I'm looking for something and then I've got 3 or 4 different results, they can be quite sporadic, like quite all over the place. So I prefer just to hide all of this mess, because otherwise it could be like down here and I end up scrolling up and down for my search results. Just show me what I want to see. Reject search I have turned off because, I mean, who actually understands that language anyway? Auto expand, this automatically expands. So that is the search result. That is the bit where I'm coming down here where it's expanding. That is the feature that I'm like, yes, please. And then there's this warning about drag headings to modify note. So if we go back to the core outline plugin for a second, let's jump up to the these sections. So we've got a heading which is a 4, and then we've got another heading which has got a link to it. Inside of the outline, if I drag this heading above, it now goes underneath trust, and everything underneath that heading will also be taken, which it's just taken tons of other stuff. Yeah, no, that's fine. So what it's done is it's moved everything that was underneath heading 4 above it. And if I move this up, it's done the same thing, and it's kept the level. So this is a heading 3 and this is a heading 4. However, currently in the quiet outline, you can still move it because I've got the setting toggled on. I can move this heading 4 above, so let's put it into trust, but it's changed the heading level, so now it's a heading 3 when it was a heading 4. Now if I move it back, you can see it's no longer sort of embedded underneath another heading because it's a heading 3, so I then have to add that sort of hash back to bring it back in, and then it folds, and it's a whole thing. It's like one of those really small things that just irritating. This could be a bug and the developer hasn't sorted it yet. It could be deliberate. I'm not sure, but I would much rather them keep the same levels like they do with the core outline. So this is where core outline sort of gets a pixie point, whatever you want to call it. And when you've got the same file open twice, so if I was to scroll down into this file, and let's say I go to the goal, because I'm clicked in this file, it's moving me around in this one, not both of them. That was a bug in the past. And you can see the quiet outline does the same. If I click over to this one and then go to memory, it takes me down to memory. If I do the same thing with the quiet outline, so I'm clicked inside of the left file, click on memory, it takes me there. I go to the right side file, click on motivation, it takes me all the way up there. So both of them work independent of the file that you clicked in, which is really nice. Let me know what your experience with the outline plugin is, if you use it, how you use it, and what features you would want to bring to the core outline rather than using a community plugin, and leave them in the comment section below.